tell you I love your mom? Like, your mom was like, you are going to figure life out. And I love the fact that she was like, you're not different. You're going to be just like everybody else.
Yeah. And so, like, it was just trial and error a lot of times with stuff like that, even buttoning buttons on my shirt. She used to help me with it. I remember one Sunday we were getting ready to go to church. And I guess she was like, not today. You button your shirt. You get ready. I'll be waiting on you. We're late. So you're going to figure it out. And I mean, if you want to do it for fun, go home and try to button the shirt with like your fist balled up.
Yeah.
So I'm like little. This is like I can't remember, but I just know I was like little. And so after about 5 or 6 minutes of trying to do it, I got mad and I just like threw the shirt. And for whatever reason, instead of her like, giving me the mom, boy, we late for church, you need to come on now. Mm-hmm. She was just sitting on the couch and she was just like, come here. Sit down. And we sat there for like 2 minutes. And I'm like, why are you being weird right now? Like, this is not what I'm used to. Normally, you be fussing at me.
Right.
And she was like, are you calm? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, okay, go pick the shirt up and try again. And I picked it up. And sure enough, I mean, it took a while, but I got it, together. And then after that, because I had a prosthetic device where you would like, it was like a bracelet with a hook on it. And I would stick it through the buttonhole and pull the button through and button my shirts. But like after this whole experience, she was like, okay, now you don't need to use it anymore. You know how to button a shirt.
Welcome to The Dash. You know, The Dash is that tiny line between your life start date and end date. It's your story, the chapters in your book, your journey. Get ready for real conversations with real people telling real stories about the realities of failure, setbacks, and success. Let's go. Let's
go, we're rolling, let's go. The Dash in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Dash podcast. Ooh, we got a good one today. I'm excited about it. But before we get started, do me a favor, as I always ask you, click the link in my bio if you're on Instagram or if you're already on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Please subscribe. Please share. Please comment. And thank you so much for your support so far of just watching these podcasts as we are trying to inspire the world. For those of y'all that do not know, you know that the dash is the seemingly insignificant line between your birth date and your end date. And so a lot of times people only see our highlight reels on Instagram and they see the end result. But it's that dash, our journey, the failures, the setbacks, all of that good stuff that led us to who we are today. And then, the story is still continuing. Well, today I have a very special guest, Mr. Desmond Blair. He is the owner and founder of Art Without Obstacles. He's probably one of the most fantastic artists I've ever seen because I've gotten a chance to see you actually paint live before. Yeah. So thanks for hanging out with me today, Desmond.
Thank you for inviting me.
Are you nervous?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, don't be nervous. Okay, so besides being an artist, let's go all the way back to the beginning and let's tell everybody, who is Desmond?
So my name is Desmond Blair. I am from Dallas, born and raised, Pleasant Grove, by way of South Dallas. Most people don't know that. I was born without hands. And so, when you invited me to do this, I was thinking about that. And it's like the crazy part about it is I remember when I was little, so my mom, she didn't know I was going to be born without hands, but she was actually in her last year of school. So she moved back up here, and then I was born. And then when I was born, she found out that I didn't have hands. And so even when I was younger, I just remember her saying the best piece of advice she got from the doctor after I was born was to make sure I got the best education she could get for me, right? Mm-hmm. And so and thinking about that, it's like, how do you do that? Yeah. Because when we were little, you know where Dolphin Road is?
Yeah, Dolphin Road, yeah.
We lived over there in the projects.
Oh yeah, you was in the South.
Oh. So most people, they like look at me now, but they don't understand that I'm from like Dallas. Yeah. And so you got this single mother with this little boy with no hands, and just together, and then with my family and stuff like that, they were supportive too. Just kind of navigated all the way through that, and it's crazy.
It's like you're having this moment right now thinking about it, right?
because most of my classmates didn't know this, but when I graduated from Skyline, I was 16. So I finished from Skyline at 16. I got my bachelor's degree from UTD when I was 20.
Wow.
And I finished my master's program at 23, and I was already teaching college classes out there. So I was a professor at like the age of 22. But this little kid from the projects in Dallas with no hands.
That's amazing.
To that point. And then now just, the doors that God has opened, I don't know. It's crazy.
So, wow.
It took me there for a minute.
Yeah. So I said you were an artist, but you're so much more than just an artist. You say you were a professor by the age of 23. I do want to kind of go back to your days as a kid. Mm-hmm. You said raised by a single mother. Mm-hmm. You're born with no hands. And you're living in the hood. Mm-hmm. Like
catching the bus, catching Dart.
Yes.
My mom didn't get her first car until I was like, I was like 5 years old. And it was a Yugo. Most people probably don't even know what that is. But
what was life like in school? Because, a lot of, everybody has something. But a lot of the things that we carry, we can hide. Mm-hmm. You can't hide the fact of not having any hands. So what was life growing up? Because I'm sure you were the only person in school that didn't have hands. So what was that like for you?
So like the whole school thing. So first of all, I started school when I was like 3. I don't know how, but she found some kind of early.
She listened to the doctors. I'm telling you.
She wasn't playing it back. It's like she knew, or I knew what college was when I was like early as I could remember. She's like, you going and you gonna graduate.
Yeah.
But she found a early childhood program, something like that. But I started when I was 3. Mm-hmm. And I think the hardest part about school was always the first year at whatever school I was at. Because I went to San Jacinto when I first started. And so that first year is always rough because it's like, nobody else looks like you. You know what I'm saying? And nobody, even overcoming the special education hurdle, like they tried to put me in those classes and my mom was like, no, he's not doing that. And even at home, she was like, no, you're going to class with the rest of the kids. Mm. And the reason she was so adamant about it because it's like, I know you smart.
Yeah.
You sit here and I watch you figure stuff out at home. So she's like, no, we're not finna play that game.
Yeah, what do your hands have to do with your mind and your brain? And
so she was real adamant about that. And then too, I remember always saying, I may not always be here. Your grandma won't always be here. Because when we moved to Pleasant Grove, it was like them two in the house with me. And so it's like, you need to learn how to take care of yourself. And she never really like sugarcoated the way the world was going to be, And so in school, the first year, wherever I was at, was always difficult because you have kids and they're going to be kids.
Kids are mean.
Yeah.
Kids can be mean.
But it's funny because my grandma, she was the one. I used to get mad. I go to school, new environment. Somebody say something, I was ready to, let's tussle, But I remember earlier on, it's probably when I was like first, second grade, my grandma was like, you can't fight everybody. Like, that's not the way to handle every situation.
Yeah.
And so, and even my mom too, she was good about that because she taught me earlier on, people are going to do one or two things. They're going to ask or they'll laugh, make jokes or whatever. But she was like, if they do that, that's fine. Let them be ignorant. You're smart. I know what you are. You know who you are. Mm-hmm. Just be that person and focus on those things and the things that you're good at and passionate about. Mm-hmm. And she was right because as I got older, even transitioning elementary schools, I went to 2 different ones, and then middle school, high school, it's like that was always my focus when I ran into something like that. Because it's like people are going to talk.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's because they don't understand or they're actually afraid of what they don't understand.
Sure.
And it got even worse when I skipped a grade because I was like 10 years old, 11 years old when I started middle school. And I let a few people know. And after that, I didn't tell anybody how old I was. I got more flack for that.
For being the youngest.
Instead of like not having hands. But then I also realized too, that was because like you got people that are repeating the same grade and here you are in the same class with them and you don't have hands.
Yeah.
That's gonna,
Yeah. how did you learn to do like basic things, right? Like things that we all use our hands for. And forgive me for my ignorance, right? Because I don't want to come off as offensive. But
No, it's better that you ask.
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time. It's better if you got a question, it's better that you ask.
Yeah, so like from a young age, I mean, you know, we bathe, we use pencils, we turn things off and on. You drive, I mean, like all of those things. How did you learn how to do those things when you were younger?
So about a month or so after I was born, I became a patient at Scottish Rite Hospital. And so they would give my mom like resources and stuff like that. And they had videos of other patients and just how they adapted to things. And so since I didn't have hands, there was another girl that came before me, and she had like a video in like their resource center. Her name was Peaches. She was born without arms. So she did a lot of stuff with her feet. So we tried that stuff at home, and I was just like, I'm not really feeling this. And then I would also get prosthetics. This was when I was younger, probably like up until I was like 5, maybe 6 years old. And so some of my earliest prosthetics were actually for me to learn how to eat. So it's like I had like a fork and spoon. They were like bracelets in order for me to eat my food. But then my mom, she would take them away because she was like, okay, so what happens if you go spend a night somewhere and you don't have your prosthetics?
Can I tell you I love your mom? Like your mom was like, you are going to figure life out. And I love the fact that she was like, you're not different. You're going to be just like everybody else.
Yeah. And so like it was just trial and error a lot of times with stuff like that, even buttoning buttons on my shirt. She used to help me with it. I remember one Sunday we were getting ready to go to church, and I guess she was like, not today. You button your shirt, you get ready, I'll be waiting on you. We're late, so you're going to figure it out. And I mean, if you want to do it for fun, go home and try to button the shirt with like your fist balled up.
Yeah.
So I'm like little. This is like I can't remember, but I just know I was like little. And so after about 5 or 6 minutes of trying to do it, I got mad and I just like threw the shirt. And for whatever reason, instead of her like, you know, giving me the mom, boy, we late for church, you need to come on now. She was just sitting on the couch and she was just like, come here, sit down. And we sat there for like 2 minutes and I'm like, why are you being weird right now? Like, this is not what I'm used to. Normally you be fussing at me.
Right.
And she was like, are you calm? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, okay, go pick the shirt up and try again. And I picked it up, and sure enough, I mean, it took a while, but I got it, you know, together. And then after that, because I had a prosthetic device where you would like, it was like a bracelet with a hook on it, and I would stick it through the buttonhole and pull the button through and button my shirts. But like after this whole experience, she was like, okay, now you don't need to use that anymore. You know how to button a shirt. So when we get ready for church next weekend, you got to put your suit on. You know what to do. And so it was just like a lot of trial and error when I was a kid and I was at home. And, you know, like you said, most people nowadays, they see your highlight reel. But I was doing a lot of things at home over and over and even to go to school, to learn how to write. My grandma came up with the idea of coloring. And once I figured out how to use both of my hands to scribble on the paper, like the summer before I got ready to start elementary, she made me color like for 3 or 4 hours every day. Wow. Just to make sure I had the dexterity to be able to write. And that's also kind of how I got into art, because she kept buying me coloring books.
Wow.
But a lot of the things early on I had to figure. And then once I figured them out, it's like, okay, you wash the dishes.
I know you were like, dang, now hold on now. Hold on now. Like now you want to use it to your advantage, right? Like, come on, mama.
Yeah. But I look back at it now, like in my adult life, like all of those things. It's like, I tell people the only thing I cannot do, I will admit to not being able to do, is tie a tie, but most men can't tie a tie properly.
That's facts. That's big facts.
Yeah.
You are amazing. Your mom and your grandmother,
thank you,
are amazing. Every time I meet you, you have a smile on your face. Like you like he, you know, you're a real one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you have personality. You know how to hold. You know, just like everything about you is so outgoing. And it's so funny to hear your stories about your resilience as a kid, because now we live in 2022 and kids are like, if they don't get a certain amount of likes on Instagram, it's a big deal. You know, if they're not getting followers, or if people call them certain things. Do you ever get a chance to go speak at schools?
Yeah, I actually like doing it. I like going to speak at schools and talking to kids because, quite frankly, most people don't realize this, but talking in front of kids, especially young ones, if you ever have to do any kind of presentation or pitch in your professional career, no executive roundtable meeting boardroom can hold a candle to a room full of kindergartners hopped up on some sugar. Like, I mean, they will ask you all kind of questions.
What's the craziest question you've been asked by a kid?
Okay, one of them asked me to do a push-up. Even though, like, you know, we weren't really talking about that. They always ask me how I use my cell phone.
Well, how do you use your cell phone?
Okay, I don't text and drive anymore. I used to be able to do
Okay,
that
but
when
thank
we
God
had
you don't.
flip phones because, you know, you could feel the buttons. But no, I learned how to, like, balance the phone on one hand, and I'm left-handed. So, like, most people don't know that, but I am, like, left-handed.
Okay.
So.
Can you play sports?
Mm-hmm.
Did you play sports in school?
I played soccer.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was funny because I remember when I tried out for my first team when I was in elementary, I was trying to try out with my hands in my pockets. Like, it was only two places that I wouldn't do that. And that was at home and when we went to Scottish Rite. There was only two places I wouldn't hide my hands. And around my family, you know, of course, if we went over people's houses and stuff. But, like, I was trying to try out for the soccer team with my hands in my pockets. And I think that's when my mom, just in general, she was like, you got to stop doing that. Like, don't be afraid of the way God made you. Because it was slowing me down. And I couldn't run as fast as she knew I could. And so I was worried about the kids, like, laughing. It was a couple of them that was giving me a hard time about it. But when it's like, I'm faster than you, I'm bigger than you, and then I'm beating you to things, it's like I ended up on a team. And it's, like, funny how, like, all of that shifted around. Because she was right. She was just like, just be yourself. The people who, and I learned that lesson earlier on. And it was funny. It's funny in my adult life because I still see people who, like, struggle with this. But she taught me earlier on, the people who are going to love you will love you the way that you are, the way that you were born. They won't be worried about that. Now, they will hold you accountable for the type of person that you are. And so that's what, growing up, that's what was always, you know, instilled in me, is the type of man you are, the type of person you are. You know, do you do what you say you're going to do? Or are you out here, like, moving funny? And, like, my grandma, she was a waitress. That's what she did her career just because of the time she was born in. But during the summer, I used to spend a lot of time with her. And every time we go somewhere, she was always tipping people. And so she taught me, like, you meet people wherever they're at. Like, doesn't matter what you do or what you go out here and do in the world. It's like, still be respectful, pleasant, and mindful to people. And then the whole smiling thing that comes from both of them, because that's free.
That's good. You said that you would always, except for when you were with your family, always walk around with your hands in your pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Was it because you were not prepared for the judgment? You did not want to face the judgment, you think?
No, it was sometimes, and some days I'm still like this. Like, I forget. And then you'll go somewhere and people be staring at you and, like, why are they staring at me? And then I have to remind, oh, okay. But I learned, you know, after that whole situation with me trying out for the soccer team, like, even if people are staring and pointing or, like, whispering and stuff, which is just rude. But,
It is.
like, even when they were doing that, I think that's another reason I laugh. To me, it's funny. And so I smile and I wave at them. Because it's like, if it's going to be awkward, let's make it awkward.
Yeah,
and
let's
get
make it really
way.
awkward.
So,
what do you wish people knew? Like, when you're born different, what do you wish people knew? Because you just brought up a thing of, like, pointing, smiling, whispering. That is obviously rude, and obviously you see that. Because you're speaking for so many people. Again, there's so many people that are born different. What do people need to understand about people that are born different?
oh, and here's the good part about that. like, I don't think we see a lot of African American people in Dallas that are born with like differences. I call them differences. I don't use the word disability. But my whole thing is, if you want to know, ask. Like, you know, just come up and ask. We can have a conversation about it. That way it's not awkward. And then two, I look at it as an opportunity to maybe educate you. So next time you meet somebody or you come across somebody that is different, you're not nervous about how to interact with them or engage with them, you know, because above all else, as a kid, I just wanted to be a kid. And even as an adult, I'm just being an adult. Like, I'm out here like living my life. And
Just want to be a person.
yeah.
Yeah. So, dang, that's good. That's really good. So if you want to know, just ask.
Yeah, if you want to know, just ask.
Do you ever look at people that are complaining? And I'm talking about able-bodied, no differences. Does it ever frustrate you to watch people complain about things not going their way and things, you know, because again, you have figured out life with no hands, which to me means you've eliminated excuses, but everybody has a complaint or an excuse. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I still have my moments where I complain too, but so from 2020 to now, I think even the things I would complain about or get frustrated about, those are kind of eliminated because my mom passed from ALS. So I watched her lose her mobility prior to like, and pass away prior to them shutting everything down. So I had time to really think about this. And what I do now, my mindset about complaining, even when I meet people that do that, it's like, I want to hear you and I listen. But then too, just personally, I was always taught, okay, give yourself 10 minutes to be upset. You know what I'm saying? If you need to go for a walk or drive, or if it's something that makes you that mad, go do some burpees because you won't be mad after you do those.
No, you can be tired.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. When you spend time complaining about stuff, you waste energy that you could be using to solve a problem. And so growing up, you know, that's what I was always taught. You got like 10 minutes to, you know, feel it because you need to do that. But then after that, you got to spend the rest of that energy solving that problem. So whatever it is you're complaining about, either accept that it is the way it is and learn how to move with dealing with that, or two, figure out how you're going to overcome it. And I guess just, you know, like I said, my understanding of that deepened after watching my mom's journey with ALS, because I was watching her. She went from, you know, I turned 30 and she was moving upstairs slower. So I'm like, whoa, she's finally getting old. But we didn't know that's what it was. And so the whole time I'm watching this disease progress, she was still smiling. Like, I mean, all the way into the end. Like the last morning I was with her, before she passed, she smiled and gave me a thumbs up. She's like, you gonna be all right? And it's like, I look at that now and it's like, okay, the things I would complain about, and even watching other people, the things you complain about, I think you have to think about it is you get to complain about those things. There are people that don't. And even with me not having hands, I went through this 9-week program at the end of last year at the Adaptive Training Foundation in Carrollton. And I was surrounded with like other adults, like who had various types of limb differences, some of them from accidents and stuff like that. And just being able to experience other perspectives is like, you know, some of my classmates, they were missing their legs. And I'm sitting up here dog tired because I'm doing squats, but it's like, I get to do squats, you know, and I think just in general, my perspective about that has changed. So it's like when I see people like that, I'll listen to them. But if you complain too much, I'm not going to lie, I'll distance myself from you because I feel like you have to spend more time on solving the problem.
Was there ever a point between your differences or watching your mom go through her battle with ALS that you questioned God?
No, not really. And I think that has more to do with how she carried it, because she wasn't upset. She was like, "This, we've been through this. We did this when you were a kid, you know. We had to figure it out. It changed. We had to figure it out. At each step, we had to just keep figuring it out and be problem solvers, right?" And so it was kind of the same way as her disease progressed. It was like we just had to keep figuring it out. And I mean, that was always kind of interesting because I knew she would get to a point to where she couldn't eat. So I made it kind of like a point to take her to all these little brunch spots because my mom, she would only go to like Chili's on the border. And I'm like, dude, no. Like, so we would hit all these little brunch spots, and it was funny because I would be getting her like chair and all these gizmos and gadgets out of the car, and these people be looking like, this lady in this wheelchair is with this guy with his hands. And it was just kind of like this odd couple thing going on. But it's like we, you know, it came full circle because I was prepared for it. Because it's like we've done this before, you know.
And now you're able to care for her.
Yeah.
So what do you do now? Because I know you as an artist, and it's so funny. It's like when you're saying, oh, I'm about to do an interview with a guy that has no hands. Well, how does he paint? Well, with his hands, you know, like, what do you do besides, because you have a career?
Yeah, I have a career most people don't know about. So I'm a bit of both. I'm an artist, but I'm a nerd. Like, I've been that way since I was a kid. I remember my mom bought my first computer home when I was like in 6th grade. But I had to figure out how to get it to work. And so I went to UTD. I graduated with my bachelor's and master's in arts and technology. And so while I was there, I got into computer graphics. And so every artist that went through that program, we had to learn, everybody at UTD learns computer science. Like, doesn't matter what your major is. So I got into computer science programming and stuff like that. And while I was teaching there, I started working on some research projects for the Army, which is basically like software, simulation software development. And I did that for about 3 years, but because I knew how to program and do the art stuff, I ended up working my way into being a project manager. And so we finished up there, and then just by chance, thinking about places that are meaningful to work, I knew I was a patient at Scottish Rite, and I would go back and talk to those kids and, whatever they needed from me, I was always there. So I was like, it'd be cool to work there. And so the timing worked out, and I ended up transitioning into healthcare IT as a project manager. So since I had the software development background, I started with application deployments, but now I manage all of our IT infrastructure projects, new facility builds, remodels, stuff behind the walls, all the way behind the walls to what you interface with on the, at your desk.
So in other words, you're really smart, and everything you just said, I have no idea what any of that is, but it's very technical and necessary. Just speaks to your brilliance and, the nerd part of you. Yeah. No wonder you graduated high school at the age of 16, which is amazing. And then is art your love?
Yeah. So I figured out the two they play on each other, right? Because I have that side of me that is extremely technical. So when I paint, I look at it as more of a process too. So there's, the passionate element, I guess, if you will, that's involved in it, or the creative element. But then there's also me solving a problem as I'm working my way through a painting.
So what kind of paintings do you do, for those that don't know?
I like painting people. It's always funny when I tell people I paint and they see I don't have hands. They're like, well, maybe he does like abstract stuff. But no, I like painting people. And the reason I like doing that is because, you got, 1 moment to tell a story about somebody in a portrait, right? And I don't mean the kind you go do the family photo thing. I mean just trying to capture essence, mood, things like that. And so I spend a lot of time learning about figure drawing for animation, and I try to, bring that into my portraits when I paint people. But the two play off each other. If I go too long without painting, then I get agitated at work, and vice versa.
Really?
Yeah, I have to do both.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So how long does it take you to finish a portrait?
Since I paint at night, because a lot of times I paint at night, I would stay up to 3. I stopped doing that because I realized you need to sleep. But I paint about 3 or 4 hours a night when I'm working on stuff. So for my last exhibition, it's 3 or 4 hours at night. And each one of those paintings probably took about 2 or 3 weeks at night, and on the weekends sometimes too.
And when we say he is an artist, I told him, I was like, Desmond, bring some of your artwork. And Desmond hit me with the, I sold everything. Okay, well, sir, make the money then. I'm not mad at you. You're not just painting, you are like officially, like you're official.
Here's another thing I learned too, even with selling my artwork. It's funny because like there was a point in time where I would just jump at every little thing somebody would ask me to do. But then after my mom passed, I was like thinking about it because I stopped. I was debating whether or not I was going to quit. So she was like I would paint something and show her, and she wasn't really an artist, but she knew me well enough. Like I wasn't afraid of anybody else's critique because it's like she knows me, like, you know.
Yeah.
But I debated whether or not I could keep doing it, and then I started thinking about it because I had people asking me for stuff like literally 2 weeks after she had passed, and I was like, that was kind of irritating me. But then I stopped and I really thought about it. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start telling people no. Because I realized how short life is, right? And up until that point, you always think, well, I need to make more money. I need to, you know, I'm jumping onto this, jumping onto that train, just trying to make, you know, more money and this, that. But then I realized I was like, no, time is the most valuable thing you have. Mm. So why would I spend my time, my life energy, spreading myself thin doing these things or projects that I'm not passionate about, I don't have a connection to, when it's like, if somebody approaches you with something, if you really feel it, do it. Mm-hmm. If you don't, say no and spend that time doing and painting and creating the things that you want to create. Mm-hmm. It's funny because when I did that, the amount that I was able to charge, it increased.
Well, look, yesterday's price is not today's price, right?
But that's just a lesson. I wish somebody had schooled me on like earlier, because a lot of times when you're starting out, you are just jumping at like everything, especially being an artist, because you want to have that break. You want to have that opportunity. You want to, you know, as much as, and I'm bad at it now, I just post stuff and go. But social media is a thing. And I think that's the other thing, too. People see so much art flowing through social media. They don't realize that those pieces take hours to create. Mm-hmm. So if you hit an artist, especially if they, you know, have any sort of skill and been doing it for a while, you say, hey, I need something in like a week. It's like, well, you don't know what else they do outside of it. They may not be a full-time artist. Mm-hmm. They may have, you know, they got families. They got... Right. They may have health issues. They got stuff that they're dealing with. And so, like, it's just kind of crazy because you see it so much, you see so much of it uploaded, you think people are just spitting this stuff out, and that's not always the case.
Right.
And so...
Desmond, I am so impressed. Like, your mother put something in you, your grandmother put something in you that is, like, again... People without differences don't even have that thing that you have. Mm. No excuses. Go hard or go home. You know, you're striving for excellence in everything that you do. Let's just say that there is a small child that has not made it to where you are in this level of confidence. They're still trying to figure it out. Maybe they don't have the support system that you have. Maybe their support system is struggling with their difference, which gives them an insecurity as well. Mm-hmm. What would you say to that young child that was born with a difference, that is really sad and upset and discouraged that they have this difference? What would you tell them?
God made you exactly the way that you needed to be. The sooner you accept that and live your life and be who you are and embrace that, the quicker you can walk into it. And like, you'll learn as you go along. Everything won't always be pleasant, you know. But you'll learn that this world will make a space for you. Just like with all of us, like if we all do that, this world will make a space for us, you know. And to be honest, I think growing up as a kid, I never saw an executive that looked like me. I never saw, you know, a politician even, you know, that looked like me. I never saw people in like leadership roles that like looked like me. And even in movies, the people who had limb differences, they were the villains. Like, even if you go all the way back to like Peter Pan, Captain Hook, he had the peg leg and like the hook on his hand, right? Or what was the guy from Inspector Gadget?
I can't remember his name, but I know.
Yeah, exactly, but he had like the robotic arm. And so like even when there was that representation there it's like you are always the bad guy. And so if people are seeing this, then subconsciously, when they see you in real life, it's like, oh, it must be something wrong with him. Or they they can come in with preconceived notions. And so I guess with my life, I just always want to see how far I can go, because if I can change that narrative, yeah, he doesn't have hands, but he drives a Porsche, not a Panamera, a 911. Like, if I can get to that point, it's like, that's the example that I would want people to see. So when they do have kids, or when I do come across kids that are born with limb differences, it's like, they're going to tell you what you can't do, but you have to know what you can do and really just like focus on that. Because if you do that, and I'm saying this for those kids, but just anybody, if you focus on that, like, God will take you way further than you ever thought you could go. So.
Thank you for being you. Seriously, you always are just a ball of energy and light every time I see you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you for your transparency today. Thank you for speaking life into those that may not be where you are, confidence-wise. How can people follow you so they can see your artwork and all the amazing things that you do every day?
So I had to get this straight. I've been working on this. So you can follow me on Instagram at D_Blair. I'm on Facebook too. I had to switch the way my profile works because I hit my friend limit.
Okay.
And then I do have a portfolio page on Instagram. It's Art Without Obstacles. But if you are trying to purchase my work, you can do that through Pencil on Paper Gallery. So they're a gallery in Dallas, up and coming. They work with me and a whole bunch of other artists, really talented artists in the city. And the couple that runs the gallery are amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you so much, Desmond.
No, thank you for inviting me.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for the support. Make sure you subscribe to the Dash Podcast YouTube channel. Also, we're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. And feel free to share with some family and friends. Thanks, guys.